we're exposed to them constantly and they don't break down in the body. So if you're exposed to them, they just stay in your body.
New details now, and an 11 News investigates exclusive toxic legacy.
A new bill before Maryland's General Assembly would ban more than 1,000 pesticides containing forever chemicals currently used on crops and in schools and hospitals.
And this comes after we reported yesterday about a first-of-its-kind study before it's published showing PFAS in the blood of every Maryland resident tested.
Investigative reporter Tali Taylor explains the battle to undo the decades of PFAS damage that's already been done.
PFAS chemicals have been found in your clothes, in your food containers, in your tap water. But it is possible to reverse the contamination. And researchers say this study could be Maryland's first step on that path. After decades of forever chemicals being used in many consumer and industrial products, the first study in Maryland testing these chemicals in the blood of residents had a simple goal.
We could assess the amount of PFAS exposure from the community.
Johns Hopkins University professor Dr. Anna Rule began the study over the summer in partnership with the Maryland Pesticide Education Network. 41 people representing every part of the state volunteered, the final results coming back in January. Each person's blood contaminated with PFAS. Nearly every test sample with concerning levels of these nearly indestructible chemicals.
It's like there is potential harm for healthcare. And then they recommend avoiding PFAS and having your doctor do several things.
Program Director Sean Lynch is talking about a scale created by the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, or NASEM, where a PFAS reading in your blood below 2 means no health concerns. A NASEM score between 2 and 19 means your health could be harmed and encourages doctors to screen for breast cancer, pregnancy issues, and high blood pressure. And a NASEM score at or above 20 instructs doctors to check for multiple cancers and thyroid issues.
We thought since they have been not approved or not being sold for many years that we would find more people without them.
But even though some of these chemicals have been banned for decades, and even though study participants had no known exposure to these chemicals, it didn't matter. 95% of Maryland residents tested in the NASEM range recommending medical screenings. Those residents learning their health could be at risk.
I'm really not surprised, actually, because we are using these chemicals everywhere. They're ubiquitous. And so we're exposed to them constantly, and they don't break down in the body.
As Baltimore County Delegate Sheila Ruth points out, many forever chemicals are still in use. She introduced a bill last year banning more than 1,000 pesticides in Maryland that list PFAS as an active ingredient, but it never passed. And what happened to that bill? Why didn't it go anywhere?
So the agriculture community is really worried about losing tools in their toolbox.
Delegate Ruth is right. In response to 11 News Investigates questions, the executive director of the Delaware-Maryland Agribusiness Association, which opposed last year's bill, wrote that the trade association representing agricultural retailers will once again oppose this year's bill. She wrote in part, "These bills ignore the thorough and rigorous review process in place at the federal level via the Environmental Protection Agency. Pesticides are critically important tools to the farmers who use them to advance both yields and conservation practices, and this legislation would remove tools from their toolbox without sound scientific basis." Delegate Ruth now teamed up with State Senator Ben Brooks on why this year will be different.
I'm very optimistic that we have this bill both in the Senate and the House. We've also made some changes to address some of their concerns.
And we still can get the same results with some of the 14,000 other pesticides that are on the market that does not have PFAS in it.
To put it another way, State Senator Brooks says pesticides with PFAS are currently being sprayed on Maryland fruits and vegetables and used in hospitals, schools, and daycares for pest control.
I think some farmers believe that the efficacy is better, but when we bridge that against the health of Marylanders, I think the choice is very, very clear.
If passed, the bill's deadline to stop using these pesticides in hospitals, schools, and daycares, June 1st, 2026. The proposed deadline for farmers to stop using them, June 1st, 2028. State Senator Brooks says the resistance to change reminds him of another chemical that was a useful tool until it was outlawed for health reasons.
Same argument could have been made for DDT back in the day. You know, that was a chemical that most farmers say, hey, we will not survive, you know, without this particular chemical. And we did.
Dr. Rule and her partners recognize 41 people is a small sample size. And she's already applied for a grant with the EPA to test more people across the state for PFAS.
If you're able to get this EPA grant for $1 million, how many people do you think that would add?
Maybe 250 to 300 people.
If she gets that funding and she expands it to hundreds of Maryland residents, what do you think she'll find?
I think that we would find that that average is probably going to be similar.
I think that we will all be surprised at how pervasive PFAS is in our bloodstream. And I think it will really heighten the concerns for a lot of people who maybe it's not on their radar yet.
Committees in the House and Senate have scheduled hearings on this bill over the next few weeks. For 11 News Investigates, I'm Tolly Taylor.